change. It's a problem. Hopefully you've heard of it. And today we will be discussing climate change art. So as you can tell by the name, this is art that focuses on climate change. It came about as a big topic in art, especially visual art, not too long ago, 2005 actually. Until recently, people didn't really care publicly about climate change. And the use of it as a topic in artworks really helped to change that, despite how controversial it is. The hope for climate change art is to bring more attention to the issue and hopefully change people's perspective of it. This is not a particularly popular thing because to some people it seems more of a political topic that should be kept out of the art community. Visual art has the most significant effect on the viewer when it comes to climate change, though. More so than theater, poems, and possibly even journalism. This type of art is sometimes seen as a form of activism. Activist pieces are not even registered by the art community. And there's a lot of bias against art that has a purpose beyond the art itself. Because it has the potential to ruin the artist's credibility, and they can get caught up in the activist side, taking away from the actual art. Climate change art does, however, fill in a gap that other mediums displaying and informing about the subject cannot: the imagination. We don't really think about the melting ice caps every day. We are in our own little world, working, living in a country far from the Arctic. So seeing something like this polar bear, surrounded by our trash and filth with only a square of ice left to live on, we can't help but imagine, what if that's really happening? Then we come to find out that our what if scenario is actually happening. Up until now, with this new addition to the climate change movement, the only exposure we had was with articles and movies and the news, none of which really get through your brain without the first thought of, is this real? That is only realized by looking at a picture, whether that means a photograph or an artist's rendition of what's going on. This is what we'd call representation art. According to the article, visualization boosts our cognitive engagement, which helps form our perception and level of concern. Basically what that means is it gets you thinking. And thinking means that you'll probably go and learn more about that issue. Representative art is simply 2D art. So photography, painting, drawing, all that jazz. Most of this type of art revolves around what we like to call the sublime apocalypse. This is where climate change art can get a little tricky. The main problem with climate change art lies within the art itself. Most features images of the worst possible scenarios for our world. It is a beautiful picture of the horrible things that humans can do to the planet. Here we see a similar motif through this art. For instance, the battle between nature and the industrialization that is destroying our world, or even what could and probably is happening all the time to humans because of our actions. This type of art uses fear and tragedy to convey a sense of urgency to its audience. However, the problem with that practice is the catharsis that comes with it. Catharsis is when you feel something and can express it in a sort of second-hand way. Think of when you're feeling angry and you watch an action movie instead of hitting someone. This is a problematic response to climate change art because it means that you can distance yourself from the negative feelings. It becomes simply another piece of art to the viewer instead of the dire warning it was meant to be. And that is the downside of all of this. But how many other ways are there to attack the issue?